start whenever. Louise, if you're watching this, know that you're going to edit at some point when we start. But when we start is up to us.
Yes. We'll give you a wink. We'll give you a wink.
All right.
Yes.
So welcome. Before we get started, and then what are we discussing? Okay, got it. All right, ready?
I'm ready.
3.
Let's roll.
2, 1. Nice. 1. I said 3, 2, 1, and I did the reverse. Luis is going to use that as a blooper, I can tell. Right.
I don't know if you're counting up or you're counting down. I was getting a little confused.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in finance. I don't know anything about numbers. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very, very holiday edition of Sky Guy Collectors.
Yes, sir.
And today we are going to discuss many things, mostly the holidays, probably not though. But before you guys do anything, I want you, it's family time. It's the holidays. Yes. So, don't only grab your grandmothers, grab your grandfathers, your uncles, that stepbrother that you absolutely hate. Maybe
your sister.
Your sister. Wow, that was we didn't plan that.
Actually, you don't have to go get her. Just go grab her phone.
Yeah.
Go to our YouTube page and just take her finger and hit like.
Don't even take her finger. Just look over her shoulder and just steal her information. You know what, guys? We're not suggesting fraud over here. What we are suggesting is that you click the link that's going to magically appear underneath my hands or above my hands, and you follow us because we are super thankful for every follower that we have. And just every single one of you that have supported us and everything that we've done, even though I can't even say words right now. So
that's how excited you are.
There's a very specific reason that I can't say words right now, because we, as you can clearly see, are going to be talking about Dune. Wait, hold on, Chris.
Dune. Yes, we're going to talk about spice.
Spice. Oh my gosh, yeah, that was weird. Is spice for drugs? Because I think that's what it means in Star Wars.
I think in that time it can mean anything.
Okay, we're going to talk about spicy Dune.
Spice.
Well,
spicy
actually,
Dune.
No, maybe we're not.
We are going to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah,
and look, we have a special guest right next to Joe. Louise. What's up, Spidey? Oh, it's Louise. It's Louise behind the mask.
Hi,
Louise.
Don't piss him off.
Don't get him angry. He'll get angry eyes. Angry eyes. Don't piss him off.
We are talking about Spider-Man No Way Home, and I couldn't be more excited. Literally, probably the most excited I am to talk about any movie.
Oh yeah,
that
me too. Done. Me too. But first, if you haven't seen the movie, hit that pause button, go watch it, then come back, and then listen to what we have to say.
There's going to be some mother flipping spoilers.
Yes.
I will tell you what. Mother flipping spoilers.
As you said one time, Joe, in Feige we trust.
Yeah.
In Feige we trust.
I mean, listen.
Feige's the man.
Feige is the man. He scared me with the Eternals. Had me on the ropes. What's going on?
I think this movie had his attention more than Eternals did.
Clearly, because somebody was drunk in the kitchen.
It's like being in an office and you have this one guy that you don't really care about. He's all the way down in the back corner office. Yeah. And you only visit him maybe 2 times a month. Sometimes you don't even know he's there. You just go back there. That's Eternal. That was their Eternals office.
Well, you thought like he's in the kitchen. He's like he's working on Agent Carter 2 or something like that. But no, he's actually has a tentpole that he ran away with, and nobody saw that he was working on it.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, it gets released in theaters. Like, no, that was supposed to go on stinking FX Now or whatever it is next to Cloak and Dagger, which I didn't see. I'm sure
I didn't see that either. I didn't see that. I heard it was all right. I heard, but
yeah, we're going to put it right up there with the Inhumans. But
yes.
Wow, we are off topic. Yes. So, all right.
That's how excited we are.
I have a lot to say, so I'm going to go second.
Go ahead. I want
you to go first. I want you to go first.
All right. My first impressions of the movie. Holy crap! That's all I gotta say is holy crap. From the beginning to the very, very end, Awesome story, awesome dialogue. I was just like going into Endgame, or Infinity War Endgame. I was worried about all these actors coming together, and it really gelled really well. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat. It was funny. This movie was an emotional roller coaster ride from beginning to end.
I'm still on it.
Yes, I'm still there. I haven't seen it again. I will plan to go see it again sometime this week.
My butt's vibrating right now because of the ride. Can we edit that? It
was, but it was really, really good. It's just it's a lot that we're going to talk about here. A lot happened. Yeah. A lot happened. Now, what about you, Joe?
It was emotional for me. First, I'm going to talk about the emotional aspect before I actually talk about the film. I mean, a lot of people, like at least our generation, our first really superhero movie that came out was X-Men, right? And X-Men was great. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was Batman and Superman.
It was good for its time. It was good for its time.
Yeah, yeah. But like, you know, when I was a teenager, X-Men was the first one out the gate. I was like, this is great. This is fantastic. But I didn't grow up on comics because they were demonic. I grew up on Spider-Man on Fox. The 1995 version, which is still my favorite. And Spider-Man was instantly my favorite hero. And there's a lot of reasons why. He's the awkward kid who gets powers, but still has to hide it. He's the guy who always wants to help everybody, but doesn't take care of himself. He's the guy who's, when he's uncomfortable, he's quipping nonstop. Yes. I mean, I relate to Spider-Man more than any other superhero for that. And it's one of my favorite characters for that particular reason. So by the time the Tobey Maguire version came out, I was just elated. Not because I thought Tobey Maguire was just like the best Spider-Man. We're going to get into that. But like, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is like my favorite, the superhero that got me into superheroes. Getting live action.
Yeah, and live action. I grew up before, I don't mean to cut you off, but I grew up on the live action Spider-Man TV show.
The Japanese one?
No, not the Japanese one. There was an American one in the 80s. It only lasted a few episodes, and then it was off TV.
I didn't even know that. Was that the one
that
was like a Power Ranger? Or is that the
Japanese? So it looked like a Power Ranger. It was very cheap tricks and everything like that. They tried to make it like Batman-esque, like the Adam West Batman. They kind of made it like that.
So somebody bought me this sweater, and I haven't worn it yet. And they saw it in a picture that I had posted, and it was like, "Did you put that sweater on top of Spider-Man's head?" So I'm gonna have to deal with that after that.
I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I'm just
that's fine. The text was
that show was
well, but so anyway, so by the time the Tobey Maguire one came out, it was still just so exciting. No matter what you thought of that, it was a great trilogy of films. It did great. I mean, even the last one, we're not going to get into that because this is this one, but like we went from that 10 years later, we're getting the Andrew Garfield ones, which, you know, love them or hate them. Andrew Garfield, I loved.
See, it was a transition. That was more emotional Spider-Man when Andrew Garfield took over. Yeah. That was more emotional.
It was, it was a different type of, it was just a different type of portraying Spider-Man. Still captured it, kept it a little bit more realistic, but the core of those movies, whatever you thought of the two individual movies, Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, just the emotional core. Like the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2, when Emma Stone dies, is still just it's gut-wrenching. The music, everything. And, you know, just going back into that film, this is going to be a long podcast. Just going back into that film, it was so beautifully filmed. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, if I go back into it and you look at some of the cinematography, just some of the animation stuff, gorgeous film.
What they hit their mark on those movies was, I think, the villains. The villains, I think they hit the overall actors, the cinematography, everything was good. It just they missed their mark with the villains in that series.
Yeah, I could forgive the Lizard, but like by the time we got to Jamie Foxx and all that, and it was
Jamie Foxx. I wasn't expecting that with Jamie Foxx.
I mean,
at that time,
make up for it. by the end of the podcast.
Yes, I think he did make up for it.
So that brings us to Tom Holland, right? And like I said, we're going on a little bit of journey. Now, Tom Holland, he's introduced in Civil War. So, and they wisely didn't do the origin story because we've already seen it. So by the time he gets his own movie, he's Spider-Man for 6 months. He's doing his thing, but it's a very different type of Spider-Man we're seeing. We're seeing a Spider-Man that has all this Stark tech. And then we see him in Avengers and Endgame, and then he gets his own second movie, and it's still just a journey. But by the time we get this movie, which takes place immediately after, which I loved, after Far From Home, like literally the next second, we now see an arc, and we're going to get into the actual movie now. We now see an arc that actually completes what I didn't realize was an origin story. 3 films, the perfect origin story, because by the time we get to the end of the film, in a beautiful way, the board is reset, not in like hitting the reset button per se, but now we have the Spider-Man that we knew, the street level hero who has nothing, no Stark tech, no nothing. And he's just out there doing the right thing by himself in the city. So just to get into the movie, once again, it was so emotional because yes, Andrew Garfield and Spider and Tobey Maguire do come back. The storyline is just, it's unexpected. We were expecting them to show up.
Yeah. They kept that on wraps, but come on, you can have all the villains come back, but not the original Spider-Man. I was afraid that they weren't going to do that, but I'm like, no, Kevin Feige's.
I knew they were going to come. I was afraid of a cameo, but they did. They got a good almost hour of the film.
Like for them, how they were introduced in the film was awesome.
I'm getting chills.
Yeah, that was like that, like the transition of them coming in, and also the transition of them leaving.
Right,
was good. But to see them, that brought a lot of emotions back for me. So let's break this movie down into sections. Okay.
That's that.
You know what I mean?
Same thing. We're going to jump over back. And
let's start first. The first act. The first act is Peter is now known in the whole world of the guy who killed Mysterio.
Right.
But he didn't. We all know this. He didn't. Right. But the world doesn't know this. So, you have, what's his name? Who's the Daily Bugle?
Dr. Strange. J. Jonah Jameson.
J. Jonah Jameson announcing to everybody, which I love that character.
Yeah.
For him to come back and be him is awesome. And him announcing that he's a menace to society and all that stuff. So now we're starting to see the actual struggle of being Spider-Man. We didn't get that feeling of the Tom Holland Spider-Man at all, because since he got introduced, he was handed stuff. He's not a rich kid. He doesn't make money, and he makes a lot more mistakes than he helps a lot, but he does make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
So we see him going through that, and also his 2 friends are being brought down with him. That was emotional for me. It's like usually your friends are along the ride with you in life, and they are. Yeah. So it was a beautiful beginning and how it was starting to shape.
Yeah. And
what did you think?
I'm really glad they didn't spend a ton of time. So, obviously more spoilers. And this was a complete leak scene. So I was, especially once we got Kingpin the other day on spoiler on Hawkeye, it was almost guaranteed that there was no way that Matt Murdock wasn't making an appearance, and it was very tasteful.
Yes,
he was his lawyer. He got him out of like the situation. We didn't even have a courtroom scene, which I thought we were, but I was just like, oh, that's rushing it. I would like more Daredevil. But you know what? Perfect.
No, he caught a brick. He caught a brick coming through the window where Peter didn't know it was coming. He catches it. But can I talk about, like, Daredevil is my favorite character. Now, Daredevil made his first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man. That's where Daredevil made his first appearance. So did Kingpin. So to see Kingpin in Hawkeye, and then now you see Daredevil, Matt Murdock show up in here is cool. But I just want to say, it looks like his skills are a little bit faster or in tune than it was in the Netflix series, just by that little scene that I saw.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I think they're going to go more towards the comics with him. But I can't wait to see more of him.
Yeah, and I mean, just a quick segue. I really hope with them reintroducing these characters that they don't like retcon like the entire Daredevil series on Netflix. It was really good. It really was. I mean, it was dark. It was very dark. But this movie was a little dark. So we might just be seeing, because like there's too many questions to be answered. Why is Kingpin out again? So this might be in the future. Whatever. We're going to table that. Matt Murdock shows up. It's a great cameo. And before you know it, we're already on to them talking about college. So just to give you a time space, Far From Home is middle to end of summer. Peter and them go back to school after he's cleared. There's a ton of media coverage. Everybody's trying to, get pictures with him, follow him around. Flash is pretending to be his best friend. Flash dyes his hair blonde.
Yes. Yes.
Which was a nice nod. Yes. I appreciated that.
He wrote a book. That was
oh my god, the instant flashpoint.
Yes. Yes.
I was dying. I was like,
that was good.
There's so much in there that people who are just casual fans aren't going to catch, because this movie, just like Endgame, was a king to fan service. So Peter goes back to school, but then they're trying to get in college, and then he finds out, oh my god, I can't get these guys into college because they were involved with me. They can't get into MIT. They're being denied. So he has the brilliant idea and plot device to go see Doctor Strange and ask him if he can go back in time. Him forgetting that he didn't have the time stone.
Yes.
What do you think about Doctor Strange in this movie? Like, just in general.
Doctor Strange, he looks out of sorts, but he did disappear for 5 years. So he's not the Master Supreme anymore.
Right.
Wong is. So, and he's kind of bent out of shape that he lost the title, but he was gone for 5 years. Yeah. But he is a little bit different. I think he knows what's going on more than we are led to believe.
Right.
And I'll get more to that when we talk towards the end of what happened in this movie.
Right.
But it gave me some vibes of What If. I'm not gonna lie. It gave me some vibes of What If, the way he was acting.
Speaking of which, we're going to touch on that.
Yes. Yes. But that's what I felt. But overall, when they met, don't call me sir. I mean, don't call me doctor. Yeah. Call me Strange, but then he's still weird, but I'll allow it.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
A trailer, but it still worked well.
Yes, it still worked. But I like with the trailer, they screwed us up. They gave us something different in the movie than what was the trailer with Wong.
Yeah,
which was good.
I wasn't
expecting that.
Marvel's known to do that, and people are wise to it, so they're kind of speculating what's real and what's fake and stuff like that. So, the whole idea is they had come up with this idea to make sure that, to have it so that nobody knows that Peter Parker's Spider-Man. But, and this is where I get a little shaky on exactly what it was. People were going to forget that he was Spider-Man, but not forget Peter Parker, which is, we're going to bring it to the end of the movie, how they figured out how to solve that. But he starts freaking out. Oh, is my aunt going to forget? Just what happens in the trailer happens. So basically the spell screws up because he won't shut up in true Peter Parker form, and it explodes. And then this is more fun interaction and stuff like that about why didn't you just call MIT first?
Yes. Well, why do you state your case?
It was a great bit of dialogue. So going back into it, we're now going to where he's trying to do that on the bridge with this, we're not going to go through the whole plot, but this is where all of a sudden we see the first villain. We see Doc Ock, and fun fight.
Yes, it was fun. And then all of a sudden Doc Ock realizes that's not the Peter Parker that he knows.
Yeah.
Then he's trying to figure out what's going on. But the amazing part is his tentacles took on the nanotech.
Yeah.
That was cool. I like that. The nanotech took over.
Yeah, that was really cool because it does show crossing from universes that, we're still dealing with Dr. Octavius, who's actually incredibly smart, kind of knows about some of this technology. It's just in a different universe. It's different. But here's how they got around the whole villain thing, which I do have a question on one of them, is they were plucked. Basically, the spell took reversed, and it's anybody who knew Spider-Man was Peter Parker was going to start coming through.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And from any universe. So that's why we're starting to see these villains pop up. But these villains were popping up, most of them, right before the moment of their death.
Actually, no, it was the moment after the death, because they remember up to the time.
Right.
And then after that, they don't remember anything else.
Oh,
and
I thought it was like right before.
No, Doc Ock was explaining, he's like, well, I was fighting Peter and I almost had my machine and then it was over. Then I was here.
Right, but Doc Ock took a turn for the good at the end of Spider-Man 2. Like, you know, he tried to make amends and destroy the machine. So for him to come back, I thought it was going to be like the moment before they died. You know, because then they were saying, hey, we're sending them back to their death. If the death was already happening, then they're just going back to die. Like immediately. I don't know. We're going to rewatch the film and then
I'm definitely going to rewatch it again, but so that happened, and then because the nanotech took over his tentacles, Peter was able to control him. And that was cool. Peter moving his arm and his tentacles moving his arm. That was awesome. That was cool. That was cool.
So and this just creates now like the whole storyline is like these villains are popping up everywhere. You know, the first thing is we see, and I didn't actually the whole time, because like Sandman pops up. I didn't know if that was Thomas Hayden Church again, because I still don't know.
Oh, it's him. He's in the. If you look at the cast listing, he's in there. So that's what I was worried too.
At the end, but I was like, was that a scene from Spider-Man 3 that they just patched in?
Oh no! All the guys came back and they actually filmed that scene, because he was CGI'd and also was Lizard was CGI'd. Yeah, and then when they became normal again, you actually saw them. Which was pretty cool. I'm like, okay, I like that. They didn't CGI everything. It's actually the actors, and that's good. They paid homage to them, because they did play big roles in their movies.
Yeah, and that's why I was confused, because I didn't know, because there was like Sandman was Sandy the whole time, and the Lizard looked like the Lizard, but you know that was fine for him. But that's the other thing. So the other plot things I'm not 100% sure of is like the Lizard's bad again, but when we last left the Lizard, or last saw him, he wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was plucked out at a certain time.
Right.
I think it was a certain time when they didn't like Peter.
Yeah, I mean,
I
think there's probably some sort of further explanation we might have missed, but that was a little bit of a plot hole I was noticing. You know, like Thomas Hayden Church, obviously he saw Peter when he was helping fight Electro. Electro shows up and it's just like, I just look better in this universe.
Yes, yes. Jamie Foxx, he was totally different character than the last time we saw him as Electro.
Yeah.
And that was cool. I didn't like that Electro, his original portrayal of Electro and blue lightning or electricity. No, he's yellow. This was cool.
He was a Batman and Robin villain, essentially, in that one.
Yes. And here you saw that he still wanted to have the power.
Yeah.
He didn't want to give it up.
Yeah.
He did not want to give it up. That was cool. That was.
They did make reference. He just didn't show up cool. Even the other villains was like, "Did you have a comb over?"
Yes. But so now Doctor Strange gave Peter this gauntlet that was magic. That when he shot his web at them, they automatically went to the sanctum.
Yeah.
I guess it was a prison down in the basement.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, it was essentially a portal gun.
Yeah. Yeah, they portal everybody in there. So he's getting everybody. What we didn't touch on was when Peter was fighting Doc Ock. Green Goblin did throw a grenade in, and then all of a sudden he magically appeared in the sanctum. So
yeah, and we got to take a moment back to talk about the real star villain. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, I mean, Doc Ock was great, but Willem Dafoe, I did not know he was going to play this big of a role in the film. And just so you guys know, he is the main antagonist.
Yes, he, as an actor, he's an amazing actor. Yeah. How he can switch from being like all scared and everything, and then pure evil.
Yeah.
And that's the Green Goblin. The Green Goblin that we saw in the Tobey Maguire movie is exactly what we saw in this one.
He slid
maybe amplified, and he slid, and it amplified a little bit more, which was awesome. That was
a little bit more desperation, a little bit more evil, but it's the same character, just the same duality. He had the duality in the other ones, and he's fighting against it. But like, it was good to see the two sides to him, because that's going to come down later in the play. But like, man, he kind of stole the show, like really, really threatening, like even more threatening than the first movie, because this movie doesn't feel as 80s cartoon series type. There seems to be more stakes. So like, he was very more cartoony in the original one, still a threat, but in this one, in the MCU, he feels like this is a
this is a guy you don't mess with. You don't mess with this guy. This guy has to be locked away and not let out ever again. But that
that brings us to exactly. That brings us to like the like, we're getting to the midsection of the movie, and basically, Peter and Doctor Strange have it out. Peter somehow manages, which is actually a great scene, that Peter managed to outsmart Doctor Strange with geometry.
Oh, I know. That was pretty cool. I'm like, oh wow, that's the dimension. That's cool.
Yeah,
Spider-Man. And I love when he came out and he goes, I beat Doctor Strange. And when I say that scene, him fighting Doctor Strange, it is, to me, Secret War-esque of what I think we are getting Secret Wars.
Well, we're definitely getting Secret Wars.
Yeah, we're getting Secret Wars. And it's the whole thing that felt like it. That felt like the beginning of it. Because Secret Wars, you had villains versus villains, good guys versus bad guys, and then good guys versus good guys. That was Secret Wars. You didn't know what was going on. And it was also the multiverse mixed in there at the same time.
Yeah. So I mean, so
that was a good fight. That was a good battle.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
But the whole point of that was they were arguing because they wanted, like, Willem Dafoe's character shows up at Aunt May's house trying to figure out where Peter is or all this other stuff. And, starts talking about how there's no Oscorp in this universe and stuff like that, which is interesting.
I want to get that. I want to get that later. Later. That's kind of weird. That's kind of weird that they're not there.
But now we're in the main plot is that Peter doesn't want to send these characters back to their
He wants to save them. Well, he wants to save them first and then send them back. He doesn't want to send them back to die.
Right. And that was more of Aunt May's idea. I mean, it was both, but like Aunt May was the one that was pushing it, which, this is the right thing. This is the responsible thing to do.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
Yes.
But so this basically just leads to Doctor Strange is caught. They do this hilarious thing where they start bringing all the villains into Happy Hogan and
I know Happy's apartment. Bringing them to Happy's apartment. I'm like, oh man, this is not going to end well.
And poor Happy, man. Like, we catch literally right at the end of Far From Home, they're breaking up. They're still breaking up in the beginning of this movie, and it's heartbreaking and hilarious at the same time. But the whole premise is they both move in with Happy. Happy's got some Stark gear there, so he brings them all into Happy's apartment. And a lot of funny things that happen. But they start trying to cure him, and the first one they're able to reasonably cure is Doc Ock. And all of a sudden you see the Doc Ock from the end of the movie and from the beginning of Spider-Man 2, just this really kind scientist, who's just...
I'm sorry to cut you off. It's the things that happen to these villains is these things happen and they took over their minds, like really twisted their minds in an evil way.
Yeah.
This chip that was in the back of Doc Ock's tentacles, this was to prevent that from happening. But if you remember the Tobey Maguire, that fried when he was trying to help contain that blast of energy that was going to happen in that movie.
Yeah.
But man, it's just to see, like, I wasn't expecting Doc Ock to change good that fast.
Yeah.
But then you have Peter. Before we go into that machine the fabricator is in there. I think that is a prelude of what we're going to see in Machine Wars, because the Patriots trying to get all the Stark tech back, and that's what Happy was doing, also getting all Stark tech back, so it's not used in the wrong way.
Right.
The
whole Stark storyline is going to provide another thing. They're still doing this while we're in a very solo Spider-Man.
Yes.
Which, by the way, this out of all of them felt like the biggest solo Star Wars Spider-Man movie. I mean, it just really was Peter's story.
It was Peter's story, but like getting into now, he's starting to help the other villains, and then the next person he helps is Electro.
Yeah.
But Electro, he sees the arc reactor and he goes, that has a lot of energy. That's energy that could stay, that I could use to take over this. He keeps looking out the window. He's like, this is a place I could take over.
Yeah.
You know, it's to see each character had their own arc in their own way, and how it was blending in with one another. That's what I liked about it. It wasn't overpowering.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't take you away from what was happening in the real story, but it was like intertwined with one another. And then you see the villains were conversating with themselves. You know, that's what I like too. Like Sandman, he didn't want to be bad. He was a criminal, and he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah. And we left him at the same place. He's still trying to do right by his daughter. He wants to get back home, you know, but like when he realizes that Peter isn't Peter, like his Peter, then he starts getting nervous and asking, oh, did you kill that guy? You know, meaning Electro. So, you know, we're getting to the point where he's trying to help villains, but the villains aren't really, all wannabe help. But then, of course, like he walks out and he gets this terrible, like the ultimate Peter tingle.
Yes, and he's looking at all of them. He's looking at all of them, and I'm saying to myself, you know who it is. You know who it is.
Yeah, like you even knew when Green Goblin was working on Norman was working on something. It's like, is that Norman? It doesn't feel like it's Norman right now.
No. And then all of a sudden he shoots a web on Norman's hand.
Right.
And Norman turns into the Green Goblin.
Right.
Like, just like that. He was being like a nervous wreck to actually, I know what I was doing, and that was awesome. Yeah, Willem Dafoe is a good actor. I like him. He's a very good actor.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. And then it just gets into chaos, you know, like Doc Ock's trying to help, but they're like, you're fighting. Most of the villains are just deciding we're going to run away. We're going to get around all this. Electro's on his way out, but Green Goblin's just hell bent on destruction. You know, so like he's just like, and we just see a vicious Willem Dafoe. Like he keeps on stinking WWFing
through the building, through everything. Like I felt so bad for Peter because he's getting his butt kicked by Green Goblin. Then all of a sudden, Lizard comes back and does exactly the same thing to him.
Right.
Then Jamie Foxx hits him with electricity. Then he flees. Like Jamie Foxx was on the fence, but Willem Dafoe actually talked him into going like, listen, we have something good here. Yeah. And I like that because that brings me back to the Sinister Six. That's how they were. Even they all wanted power, but at some time they learned how to work with one another.
Yeah, I mean, just the way the villains played off. I mean, this is probably the first movie to successfully combine this many villains and get away with it. You know? Normally, if you had more than two, I mean, even Spider-Man had what, 2 villains? Was it 2 villains or 3? It was technically 3 because you had
3.
Goblin Jr.
Yes,
the little Goblin Jr. So it was just, but that was a mess, you know? So anyway, this all comes down to the scene where they're fighting. It's basically Spider-Man versus Norman. Norman's destroying him. Aunt May tries to because they had
get out of there.
It didn't work, and she's a big part of this. And then of course, you know, the moment comes where they throw a bomb, and she's already been hit with a glider. So. But she gets up, like they're in the rubble, everything's destroyed.
She gets up, helps Spider-Man up.
Yeah.
But when she said those lines, man, I knew it was over.
Yeah. I mean, I just I had like a chill. I was like, oh,
I had a flashback. Yeah. I had a flashback.
Like I thought she was going to be okay for a second. It's like, okay, they kill off Aunt May. Although she did get hit by a glider, that's a little suspicious.
If she didn't say those words, then I was like, oh, no, she's going to walk away. But as soon as she said those words, I know she wasn't walking away.
Yeah. And then I was just like, oh my God, this is how, and that's when I realized it's like, this is an origin story. This whole trilogy has been an origin story.
And now Peter has a decision to make moving forward in this movie. Yeah. Does he kill? Right. Does he, instead of helping people, does he kill? And it's like a borderline. And that makes you think of the other Spider-Man movies. They all had the same thing.
The other two, amazing.
Yes, but the other two made the wrong decisions in their movies, in their timelines. So, and that's what I like. He's all mad, and all of a sudden here comes Happy. He cuts off those look like SHIELD agents going in.
It looked like, yeah. I mean, I looked. It could be. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we don't know. I mean, this definitely seems like it was filmed whenever. I mean, 8 months. I think it's about almost 2 years, because I think it's filmed right around the time Hawkeye is. Because the
Rogers, the Rogers the musical signs,
and they added that afterwards because it wasn't in the trailer.
Yes, and then also in the Hawkeye show, Yelena mentioned, "Oh, you see the new Statue of Liberty."
Oh, I missed that.
Yes, she goes, "Yeah, like your new Statue of Liberty." I'm like, I don't like when they. There's two things I don't like about when movies come out. One, if a TV show is intertwined with it, they mention something that was in the movie that we didn't see yet. And then two, the toys come out before the movie. The toys never came out before the movie. The toys always came out after the movie, which stinks because I saw the Doctor Strange toys and it just drives me up the wall.
Yeah, it's thinking. I mean, I like the moment they say something about toys, I ignore it. Especially with Endgame, we were getting a lot of stuff in there. So anyway, Aunt May dies, and it's the heart-wrenching scene. I
cried.
But
I
now
cried.
we're going to get into the rest of it's going to be nerd joy and emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So, we flash back to MJ and Ned, and they're on the sideline because he didn't want them coming to the apartment. He wanted them to have this magic box, which we also didn't discuss, that Doctor Strange did put together. There's so much in this movie.
Yes, the magic box with a magic button.
Yeah, that essentially sends everybody back to their timeline to die.
Allegedly. He never said hitting that button sends them back to where they came from. I think hitting that button traps them in that box so he could put it back where they came from. I don't think because MJ didn't know what that button does. Peter didn't explain the button. She goes, "I'll hit this button." You know what I mean? That's another plot point that they overlooked. They really didn't say hitting that button on that box what it really does.
Yeah. No, for sure. I didn't even think about that because you're right, because the way that little piece was in the middle. Well, anyway, so we get back to it, and this is oh my gosh, the feelings and emotions. So, they just want to know where Peter is. They don't know what happened yet. So, the other plot point is Ned talking throughout the movie that his family's got the magic.
He got the magic. I'm like, ooh, he has the magic.
So when Peter got back from trapping Doctor Strange in the mirror dimension, he handed Ned the sling ring just to hold on to.
Yes.
So Ned's just been playing with it, but every so often he'll make a little sparkle happen. And then
he was just talking with his hands like a New Yorker. And all of a sudden you see the spark.
Yeah, and then, awesome. So he accidentally almost opens a portal. He's like, I wish we just could find where Peter is. And then all of a sudden something happens. So MJ's basically saying, do that again. So he starts opening an actual portal, and we see Spider-Man. Now, as soon as I see Spider-Man, I notice the eye shape, even though it's in the distance. I'm like,
I saw the eye shape and I saw the spider on the suit. I'm like, that's not their Peter. That's and then I'm like, Andrew Garfield, hello. And he comes in and he never left a Spider-Man movie. He acted exactly the same way.
Yeah. Nailed it down to the literally just hey, I'm back. I'm super happy about it. Same type of humor.
Yes.
And, it was cool to know that the moment the villains came over, they were there too. They were just trying to find everybody.
Yes.
So they spread the fun little interaction with the grandma, jokes, typical Andrew Garfield jokes, just really fun. Then they tried again. And of course, now they're bringing in Tobey Maguire.
Yes.
Now, Tobey Maguire.
That's when the theater erupted in applause when Tobey Maguire walked through.
Yeah.
Not in a suit. He was normal.
Yeah, which they do a great job.
Yes.
Especially for me, because I grew up in the church. But they do. So for me, it was both. They both, the theater, I was with somebody who wasn't really ever going to a comic book movie before. And what's happening? I'm like, magic is freaking happening. Because these are Endgame type. This is Thor picking up Mjolnir type hype to see Andrew Garfield walk through, and then to see Tobey Maguire walk through. Because I first of all, I love both of them. I think I'm honestly a little bit more of a Andrew Garfield fan, just because I don't know. I just feel like there was something just about Andrew Garfield I like, but I had nostalgia for both films. So now you have both these Spider-Mans, and they're interacting, which is fun, but they got to find out where Peter is, where the actual Peter is. And then they start sharing their stories. Does he have a place? I have this place. I have this. So we get to the point where they find him, and before the other Spider-Man are even like showing up, like just some emotional like. And these actors, they've been in these films for 3 movies now. They sell it like nobody. The pure emotion of them just running up to Peter and hugging him. But I don't even know if they knew what was wrong yet.
No, I don't think they knew. No, I think they knew because I think Happy might have contacted. I think they knew something happened to Aunt May.
Right.
Because as soon as they run up and hug him, they're all crying.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, that's the second time I choked up. They all, they're friends. They're going through this together. There's one thing that this Peter, not like the other Peters, this Peter didn't do anything alone. He had support, which was awesome.
Yeah.
The other guys, they didn't have that support. They did, but they didn't. It was like they were there, but they lost a lot, the other 2 Spider-Mans.
Yeah. And that's because these Spider-Mans were so different. But this is the genius of this film, how it's telling an origin story, but almost in reverse. Right. So now we get to the point where the other Peters announce themselves, and Peter's just like, I'm sorry you guys are here, after realizing what's going on, but I got to send you back. But then, like, oh my gosh, when they start relating to each other and being like, this happened to me and I know what it's like, and they start sharing their stories, and then they get to the point where, I forget who said it first, if it was Tom Holland's Peter or the other one, but when they started doing the great power thing and they realized they all said it, I'm getting choked up right now.
Yes. No, Tom Holland was saying it, and then what's his name? Toby goes, you heard of that too? And then Garfield, he didn't say anything. He just shook his head. Yes. So it all like, even though they're from different universes, the certain things that were pinnacle points in their development was the same, which was cool. It's something that they all could relate on. They all lost somebody that they loved dearly.
Yeah, so for them, it was just like, it was the same thing. It was just Aunt May in this universe, not Uncle Ben. Which also is a side story. Is Uncle Ben actually still out there? Could be on one of the timelines. Who knows? Yeah, because we don't actually know, because they said all we ever heard is what she's went through. Uncle Ben could be a dirtbag that left. We don't know. Yeah, but they mention Uncle Ben, and Tom doesn't, Tom's Peter 1 doesn't actually say anything. well, Peter 1, he's also very angry, and he goes, next time he sees Green Goblin, I'm going to kill him. Yeah, but that's when Spider-Man 2, Toby goes, you don't want to do that. We all lost somebody. We just got to deal with it. That's the price we have to pay for wearing the suit. Yeah, But the other 2 Spider-Men, their identities only certain people knew. In this world, everybody knew who Spider-Man was, so he couldn't really separate himself from everything. Right. Yeah, so it was an emotional scene, and they do relate to their own stories, what they had to go through, and that it's just like Toby's the most, because Toby was literally responsible for that guy's death. He didn't kill him. But he was the cause of his death. He was, and Toby actually admits that. He didn't help. Yeah, he certainly didn't help. He had the option to help or not, and he didn't help. Yeah, yeah. So he could have saved him when he walked out. He didn't. Spider-Man in any other movie at any other point in his life would have tried to save that guy when he tripped. Yes. So anyways, they talk him into keeping with the original plan, and so what we're getting now is we're just getting 3 Peters in a lab trying to figure out how to end this movie. Yes. And it's fun. There's a lot of stuff over there that's happening. I like when Ned goes up to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. So did you have a best friend and where you came from? And then Tobey Maguire just went from a high, somber note to a very sad, yes, I had a friend, but I had to kill him because he was trying to kill me. And then you see I just wheel away. That was just typical. No, he tried to kill me, and then he died. Yes. In my arms. But that's typical Ned. Typical Ned. He just looked at him and he just wheeled away, and then that hit a chord with him,
being able to talk to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Like, oh no.
That was cool. The emotional parts for me is like, like seeing Andrew's like pain, because like, it, like Andrew we get into it and let's talk about like Andrew does like think he's like the lame Spider.
Yes.
We'll get into that in a complex.
Yeah, we'll get there. But they're in the lab, and all of a sudden you see Tobey Maguire shoot the spider web out of his wrist, and Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield, where the hell did that come from? Oh, it's in there. And I love it how they couldn't leave it alone. They had to ask questions. So that's inside you, huh? Can you shoot it out of anywhere else? But that's typical Spider-Man. That they have to go. They have to go far. They need to know this information. That was cool.
And this whole scene was so cool to show that they're different people but the same person.
Yes.
It's like they're all Peter Parker, just shaped by their experiences.
Yes.
So but like still this is each one of them is Peter Parker.
Yes.
Like it just like and I think that was the point of that scene really, is to kind of show these are all the same guys. They're not, but they are. So like we get to the whole point of this is let's figure out how to solve it. Let's figure out how to cure all of them. So then we're going to go to the next plan is to try and get them lured into one place. The new Statue of Liberty with the Captain America.
Captain America shield. I'm like, okay, and it's bronze. It's actually bronze. Statue of Liberty. I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. All right, so we got so now the Spider-Men are setting up everything for the last battle. Tom Holland goes on live TV and telling her he's trying to lure all the villains back to where they are. So then we have a good emotional exchange between Tobey Maguire and Garfield.
Right.
And Garfield's like, "Oh, you guys are cool. I'm just lame guy." And then Tobey Maguire's like, "Well, you got to build up a character. You're amazing. Say you're amazing." And Janet my wife looks at me and goes, "Why is he saying amazing?" I was like, "Because he was the amazing Spider-Man. That's why." I'm like, stuff like that. It was like put in nicely.
It was so on the nose, but it was phenomenal.
Yes.
So like, but like it's just more fun, like pre-workout. It's more fun. There's little fun moments even before they jump into the battle, because one of the jokes was, I was talking about it before, is it's like, so do you got a suit, or are you going to be going to battle dressed like a youth pastor? Because Toby shows up in just like street clothes. Toby shows up in essentially this, but like jeans and a regular shirt. It was hilarious.
That was funny. But then he goes, "Here's my suit."
And it's the same. It's the same Spider-Man trilogy one, the raised webbing, which is like classic.
That's what I like. Their suits were exactly what they were from their movies. Last saw them. That was good.
Yeah. So anyway, we get into like at the end, there's more fun dialogue, and we're literally almost reciting the movie line for line. But it's more fun dialogue. But then, the last part before they get into the final battle, as the villains start to show up, they start talking. The other two, Toby and Andrew start talking. Well, we've never worked. We've always worked by ourselves before.
Yeah.
And then our Holland's like, well, I've worked with a team before,
The Avengers. Is that a band?
So much in there.
I know. Is that a band?
And then talking about the villains is like, I fought some alien goo before, and Andrew Garfield again. It's like, I never fought an alien.
I've never been. I've never been out of space.
He's like, I want to talk more about that space. He's like, I only fought a Russian and a rhinoceros. It was so good because they were. What I loved is that they were calling out the ridiculous parts of Andrew's movies, because Spider-Man 2, for as much as it did right, it was too goofy. It was too much, and they were just saying, let's call a spade a spade. That was stupid. So then we get the villains are here and they jump into action, and it's just like, if you're a fan of anything, even if you're not a fan, like, you're swelling. Like, this is like heroes from 3 genres. Your current one when you're an adult, your first one when you're a teenager or a kid, and then the second one when you're whatever age you are. It was 3 different eras of your child, of your growing up. So for me, this was just like, it was emotional. It was like my favorite character, the characters who portrayed them, and somehow finding a storyline that actually brings them together and works. Like, I wasn't sure how they were going to do this in a way where it wasn't dumb. And
so the end sequence, what I found out was they reshot a lot of things in the end sequence before what we actually saw.
Wow.
Like when we get towards more, and I'll talk more what happened at the end with Toby, but that was specifically reshot.
Really?
Yes. It was supposed to go another way.
Okay.
It was supposed to go another way. So I was like, I tried to stay away from spoilers in this movie, and I did. All I kept on reading on things that were just saying how it was and everything like that. I just want to know how good it was when it was released to the media on that Monday, this past Monday,
right?
Last Monday. It was a lot of good things from the media,
right?
So I'm like, okay, they're hitting their mark.
I saw an IGN review and I checked out.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want spoilers. I just want to know yes, no, because I was worried. But the ending itself in this whole movie sums up everything of the movie, which, the end of the movie, they're fighting, at first they're fighting and they're not working together. Then they all they huddle. We got to work as a team, blah, blah, blah. Then they're going through everything. And then when they're swinging, man,
that first scene when
they swing, all three of them are swinging. And then when they land on top of the torch, they land their own specific way, but also a specific way that they used to land in their movie, which was awesome. I'm like,
the Feige attention to detail.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I give kudos to the director.
Yeah.
The director did an awesome job. These actors did an awesome job.
I did hear the original directors came in and consulted as well.
Yes. So that's what I like about Marvel. The other directors come in and they help with the story, which is pretty good. And then the writers of the story. The writers of the story put a good story together.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want the same old, like, I don't want to hear about history again. I know how Spider-Man got his power. Yeah. I did expect somebody dying, but I really didn't expect sexy Aunt May dying.
I kind of Aunt May, because I didn't think.
I thought it was happy. I thought it might have been happy.
I might have been more upset over Happy. Like, Happy needs a way.
Yes.
He's got
yeah.
But
getting back to the end of the movie, so now they're fighting, and now they're starting to pick off these bad guys one by one. And
Goblin hasn't showed up yet, though.
Goblin didn't show up yet, but out of all the battles at the end there, the best one was Jamie Foxx. When they finally turned Jamie Foxx back to normal, and Andrew Garfield lands, and they're just talking back and forth, and then Jamie Foxx, I thought you were black. I'm like,
he never knew who he was.
He never knew who he was. He goes, it's a bummer. But then Jamie goes, maybe there's a black Spider-Man out there. And then right then and there, we're getting Miles Morales at some point in this whole thing, which would be cool. Yes. So we're heading down. I'm telling you, all these things that are happening now, I think Marvel and Sony really worked out their thing together. I think they understand working together, they could be a powerhouse. I really do think so moving forward. And kudos to Tom Holland. If it wasn't for him, this movie would have never happened.
Yeah, he really did. He really did pull, and they put it in a movie. Now, right before the Green Goblin came. No, actually, this is after the Green. So Green Goblin shows up as they're starting to pick off villains. And Doctor Strange also shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the it was kind of meant for a laugh a little bit, but for me, I literally started crying. Because the most emotional part of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is when Gwen dies and he catches her, but not soon enough. And that scene where he's just holding her body and he's just wrecked. And then the end of the movie, he's just wrecked and he's just standing at her grave. And we get hope at the end. But oh my God, it was I still watch that and I will cry at the drop of a hat because it's just they were dating in real life too. But it was so vivid and real so anyways so he MJ falls in the same fashion, falls off the scaffolding,
And Tom Holland dives. He dives down.
Gets caught
and
by
he almost had her. Then all of a sudden, I didn't expect the Goblin just to come out of nowhere, just take him
like
out.
and that happened when like it wasn't the same exact way, but the Goblin, when he tried to get her Gwen the first time in the movie, same thing happened. Goblin got him like that.
Yes,
like the same exact way. So Andrew sees this, and the face, like all of a sudden, his face just goes to pure terror, like the flashback, but like he's like lightning quick. Like
I think he realized that this will be very devastating to Peter.
Yeah,
losing two people that he really, really loves. And for him, he swoops down and he grabs her and he lands. Just the emotion on his face. He was crying. And I started crying because I remember that moment in his movie. You know, I'm like, he actually was able to save an MJ. Unfortunately, it wasn't the MJ that he loved, but he was able to save an MJ. Yeah. And that was like, there's all these chords that this movie hit spot on. Is unbelievable.
They managed to make that like I cried and I laughed at the same time.
Yes.
Interaction. There's no way she knows what's going on.
No, but she's like looking at him like, "Are you okay?"
She's like, "Are you okay?"
Like,
it was funny, but it was like it was redemption for the character, and that's just like it was like if we never see these characters as Spider-Man again, like that was the perfect exit for him. That we like it was a beautiful moment where he felt redeemed. Because he was redeeming another version of himself. And, you know, to your point, when you said his MJ, he made a comment earlier in the movie, like when he talked about Gwen for a moment, saying she was my MJ.
It's awesome. I mean, it's awesome that they all have this connection, even though it's different, but it's the same connection.
All right. So let's take us home on the finale.
So now, you know, like we said, Green Goblin comes in, takes out Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And Tom Holland, he rips something off the glider to make it explode, and they crash on the backside of the shield.
Put a pumpkin bomb.
Pumpkin bomb inside. It blows up. They crash land on top of the shield that fell off the Statue of Liberty, and we get into an epic fist fight. Yeah. Like MMA type fist fight. It wasn't even a WWE fist fight or wrestling match. Right. It was an MMA. And then just to see when Tom Holland beating down on Green Goblin, and Green Goblin's not saying ow or anything. He's laughing every time Peter's punching him in the face. And then you see the rage in the Tom Holland Spider-Man, and then, you know, okay, he's going to kill him.
Yeah.
You know, and then I really think Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man got a tingle because he didn't realize right away until something was happening. And so he picks up the glider, Tom Holland picks up, and he's about to smash it into Green Goblin, and then Tobey Maguire catches it. Now, I'm going to get back to what I was saying before. They did a lot of reshoots for this movie. When Tobey Maguire grabs the glider, they slowly put it down, but then all of a sudden Green Goblin stabs Tobey Maguire in the ribs,
which I was 100% expecting.
Yes, like they said, I was expecting like there's a bad guy there.
Yeah,
like do quick what you're doing and get back to him. So the reshoot was that, or original scene was Toby was going to die.
I thought
he was going to die. Now, Feige, he had them rewrite everything because on set, he loved how everybody worked well together.
Right.
Hence, Secret Wars. We need other Spider-Men for Secret Wars. So they signed these guys on for more movies. So they had to change the ending. Yeah, Tom Holland signed on for 5 movies, 3 Spider-Man movies, and 2 cameo movies.
Are we confirmed on that?
I read something from a source that's close to Marvel on that. So
I hope so. I mean, I loved seeing them together. I'd love to see them again, but yeah, you know what? The stabbing scene felt off because it felt like he should have died.
Yes,
and I've been
stabbed before. I've been stabbed before. Like, oh, you're still standing. You've been stabbed. So we have him get stabbed. And then Andrew Garfield comes down to help, and now we're getting to the end of the movie. Now, at this point in time, the whole multiverse is cracking. It's about to crash through.
Right, because what we didn't say was the Green Goblin kind of exploded out the magic box.
Yes.
So Doctor Strange did come back because Ned let him back in accidentally.
Yes. And
he was about to destroy everybody, but he saw Peter's plan was actually working.
Yeah. Doctor Strange is trying to hold the multiverse together, but did you notice the silhouettes in the cracks in them? I saw Rhino. I saw Rhino. I'm like, I would like to see Rhino. An actual Rhino, not a robotic Rhino. I want to see Rhino. But so now you have Doctor Strange. He's trying to hold everything together, and then now we get to the actual point where Peter figures it out. Well,
we missed the part with the Green Goblin. Like Andrew swoops in and he actually stabs him. Because Peter seeing Toby's sacrifice realizes this was the wrong decision.
Yes.
Peter throws him the cure, stabs him in the neck, and then all of a sudden, like, Norman Osborn, the real
he's back to normal. He's back to normal.
He looks at Tobey Maguire's like, what have I done? Because he gets very moody.
Yes.
But it's legitimate Norman this time.
Yes. So that happens, and then Tom Holland goes to Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange said, "I can't hold it together." And then this is the greatest sacrifice of all. Tom Holland, Spider-Man, says, "Just have the world know that Peter Parker doesn't exist."
Yeah.
And he goes, "What about your friends and your loved ones?" He's like, "That's the only way it's going to work."
Yeah.
So now we can get on
the first spell.
Yeah, reversal of the first spell. So I'm not going to say too much, guys, because I want you guys to see the movie. He says his goodbyes to everybody. It's a good send-off for Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. That was awesome. Then everything is fixed, and now we're moving on where nobody knows who Peter Parker is. Unfortunately, Peter Parker nobody knew him. He didn't even graduate. If you notice his bag, he had a GED.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, wow. He had a GED. My wife goes, so he didn't graduate. He's like, no, nobody knows him. Yeah. They know Spider-Man, but they don't know him.
Yeah, which means everything that happened with the Avengers, they know who Spider-Man is. So like it doesn't, because a lot of people thought like, oh, does this mean a complete? No, like the Avengers actually probably remember fighting with him, know who Spider-Man is, but they don't know who
Peter Parker. They don't know Peter Parker because Happy shows up next to him and doesn't know who he is.
Yeah,
and that's a shame because Happy ended up starting being like a father figure to him after Tony died, and that's a sad part. But I'm hoping as we're moving through this whole big story, eventually everybody will know who Peter Parker is again.
I mean, I think so, but I don't know. I don't know that they might find out organically. I don't think they'll ever reverse the spell because I think that would take away from the premise of the film. Because basically, I just want to touch on one more Andrew and Toby thing. So, like, right before they send back, he says goodbye to his friends. He says goodbye to Toby. He says goodbye to Andrew. Beautiful moment. They're all hugging. Toby and Andrew are just hanging out with their arms around each other. And it just felt like this is the actors and these are the Spider-Men as well. Just who's super happy to be together, be a part of this project, but also, they're acting just, super happy to like whatever. It was a great moment seeing them all together, just super psyched. There was a line about always wanting brothers, which was really cool, which is really sad because Peter's an only child. So that does make sense that one of the Peters would actually say that, especially since they've always been alone. But yeah, to your point, they fix it. Peter makes that sacrifice. And now we see Peter at the end of the film. It's at Christmas time. So now we're caught up to Hawkeye. And we see him renting an apartment. And we see him.
The rent's due the first of the month. The month. I love that.
I was hoping for.
I love that line. I love that line. It's like, Rent is due first of the month.
As soon as I heard
feels good. Yeah. I heard that. I was like, yes, that's Spider-Man.
As soon as I heard it, I love that, but I was hoping when I heard Rent, I was really, really hoping for the guy from Spider-Man. Just an appearance, I would have taken it. But like, you know, we now see him sewing his own suits. He doesn't. I don't know what happened to his Stark tech, but like, I don't know if that's.
Well, he had to have the Iron suit, the Iron Spider suit, because he left in it. So I wonder if he took some of that tech, they put it into his new suit. But his new suit, that is classic Spider-Man colors, man. That threw me back to the comic book, those colors.
Yeah, it did look so comic, but it also looked like, if you really look at it, it looked like not only classic, but there was parts of it, because I had to go back and see if anybody had clips. It was an homage to Andrew's and Toby's. Like, he took some of their designs. The bright colors, obviously, very much. The blue was blindingly comic book, which I loved. But like, also you see a little bit of raised webbing and stuff like that. Very much, it looked like it was an homage to the two characters. Like, he was paying respect to them. But now we have this Spider-Man who's just on his own. Nobody knows him. He doesn't have anybody. It's actually really sad. There is a scene where like MJ and Ned were like, promise you're going to find me, but he goes in to see them and there's a connection with them, but he just says goodbye and he puts the note that he had written. I think
it was too early to tell him who he is.
Or he saw that which is classic Peter Parker. He saw that their life was better. I mean, look what he did with MJ in the first Spider-Man movie, you know, and even in the comics, you know, he kept people at a distance to protect them. He realized they got into MIT. Their lives are going to move on. Why am I going to complicate it? He loved them and he wanted them to have a good life. So he made that decision, which once again, this is why this is a reverse origin story, because we've seen this Spider-Man now this is the 6th movie. And now we have who Spider-Man truly is. And it was just such a perfect way to introduce it. Cause like now we actually have an MCU Spider-Man. We had one before, but I don't know what you like. I always liked Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but it never felt like 100% right.
It wasn't 100. Like, it didn't feel like 100% Spider-Man. I agree. It didn't feel like Spider-Man. Now, the acting, his accent did sound like a Queens guy. It was spot on. He was funny. He's a kid. He doesn't know what he's doing. You know, he's learning as he's going, you know, and he's trying to do right things. And, you know, whenever he does try to do a right thing, a wrong thing always happens. You know, that's typical Spider-Man. But now we have a closure on this is Spider-Man.
Yeah. And which is the beautiful thing about the Homecoming trilogy now is that it was basically a full origin story. We just didn't know we were watching it. We thought we were watching, Spider-Man go through at least one trilogy. Maybe that's the whole story.
It's almost like the Hulk. Like we had a Hulk trilogy. Right. To find out who the Hulk is in the MCU. And then we got that. He didn't have his own movie, but he was shown through the whole thing. Right. So this one, we actually saw him in his own movie and a little bit in fighting as a team member of the Avengers.
Yeah. So and now we actually have the real MCU Spider-Man. Yes. Not that it wasn't real before, but it lines up.
It feels
it's
like
true to the character.
Yes.
I think anybody who had a problem with the way the character was, the way he was like a Tony Stark Jr. or whatnot, even in Far From Home, they were like, oh, who's going to be the next Tony Stark? I think they had this game plan in line, or at least an outline, like, hey, we're going to bring him back to who he is, but we need to fold him into this world first.
Well, so a lot of fans, I'm sorry, a lot of fans didn't like how he was brought in and what they were doing with Spider-Man, because that had nothing to do with the comics. You see this movie and you see the other 2 movies. It's now part of some of the comics are in this. You feel it. You feel what's going on. And it was good. Overall, good movie. You guys got to go watch it. Go watch it 3 times.
Like, okay, hold on.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I like
amazing.
I want to throw one more thing out there that a lot of people probably didn't notice, but I did for like at least 2 scenes, and I loved it. because it's my favorite video game of the past 10 years, was the calls to Spider-Man's video game. So first of all, the Feast Truck. I don't know if you've ever played Spider-Man on PS5.
I don't have PS5. I'm jealous. I'm very envious that you're able to play Spider-Man.
Rent a PlayStation 4 this week. Forget about whatever game you were going to play and play Spider-Man. It's my favorite freaking game. Listen, I have never 100 a game ever. I've 100 Spider-Man. All right.
Did you get the Miles Morales? Did you get the Miles?
I did. Miles Morales was really good storyline. But like, I just felt like that Spider-Man game was perfect. It was the perfect story. It's perfect storyline. It was surprising. It was emotional. It would have made an amazing movie. I'm not going to talk about these, so I don't want you to spoil it. But there was a truck from a corporation that Aunt May kind of like is in charge of in there. Nice little nod. But the end of this movie where he is looking, he's in this apartment and he doesn't really have a lot in there. And he looks on his phone and he's looking at like the precincts on his phone, like seeing where there's a problem. That was a scene ripped from the beginning of the Spider-Man video game where he's in an apartment that looks exactly like that. And he's looking at his phone and his landlord is saying your rent's due at the beginning of the month. They literally took that scene for the video game, which I loved.
Cool. That's cool.
Really, really cool because the video game was so good. Like I thought, like, you know what? That's respectful. They did a phenomenal job on that because it could be part of an alternative storyline. You know,
I just want to say, Luis, I'm not sorry that this is a long video because this is an awesome, awesome movie. So I could talk about this. I could talk about this all the time.
I know it says recording. I don't know how long we've been on. It has to have been an hour, and I'm fine with that.
Yes.
YouTube's bandwidth better be able to handle it. So the last thing I do want to touch on, because we've talked
two things. We got to talk about the middle.
Yeah, well, that's
credit scene, and then end. Now, come on, man. So we're not going to get Venom now in here? What the hell?
That was funny. Listen, if they threw Venom in this movie, it would have been too much.
Yeah, but I want to see him in the future movies. You know what I mean? Like,
there's no way we're not getting him back. I think so. Basically,
well, you saw the symbiote. The symbiote was there on so the Venom will be in that universe. Yes. Yeah,
there's a lot of prevailing theories, right? So at the end of Venom 2, in that cut scene where we see him go into Peter's world at the end of Venom 2. There's a scene that when the symbiote's talking is like we've seen stuff across the multiverse. So his character Venom actually says the word multiverse, which says that the symbiote might have awareness across timelines and across multiverses within its because they're so old, like it's kind of like it's a hive mind kind of. So like the hive might be aware of Peter Parker from other universes.
So we might get the symbiote king.
It's possible.
It's possible now.
But I think they're going to find there's no way we're not on our way of seeing Tom Hardy versus. I don't think we're going to get a new Venom.
No, I think he's the Venom to stay.
Yeah,
he's Venom. We might get different versions of like the symbiote because there's tons of them. I hope we get that. Like Carnage, I hope they do a little bit more justice than we saw.
Yeah, I rewatched it. Like again, it was a fun movie, but it was just like if Sony wants to play on board, they really need Kevin Feige involved in all of this. I don't know what he might have been involved in Morbius. We'll see. Because Morbius it's just another question of like why is there.
Okay, Morbius is just throwing Morbius. You see Oscorp building in Morbius. You see a poster of Spider-Man, but that looks like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man photo.
Right.
And what's his name?
Vulture.
The Vulture's in it, but the Vulture was in Tom Holland's universe.
And the Vulture's also in jail in this one.
Yes. So is it in this world or is it crossing already? Who knows?
They could literally, they might have taken a cue from Marvel and just trying to throw everybody off.
We'll know more in January because that's when Morbius comes out.
Is that more in January? Oh,
January.
Soon. Oh,
soon.
My goodness.
That looks really good. That looks really, really good.
I hope so. Because like I said, the Venom movies, they were fun for what they were, but I just think as a solo character, it's rough because Venom and Spider-Man it just works. So the last scene.
The last scene. Really well, it wasn't a scene. It was a trailer. Yeah. It was a trailer at the end of the movie, right. And we get to see the multiverse of madness, which is awesome, and we get to see the evil Doctor Strange.
Oh, my gosh! And if for those of you guys who don't know or didn't watch
What If? Because I'm telling you,
don't like animated.
We're going to see a lot of things come out of What If into the live action.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to see a lot of stuff, and I like that. The Doctor Strange movie looks good. It looks good.
Of it.
It's all over the place. That's how it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So, and that comes out next year. So
yeah, that's our summer movie for next year. So that's going to come out in May 2022.
The only downside is what I'm hearing with that movie is they are doing a lot more reshoots.
Reshoots aren't necessarily always a bad thing, I mean,
no, it just worrisome that maybe they didn't hit the note the first time, But it is Marvel.
Yeah,
they put out a good product, except for Eternals. But
yeah, I mean, like I said, they were drunk in the kitchen. I still don't know how Eternals like. I'm going to rewatch it before I complain about it, but there will be more videos of me complaining about it.
And everybody got to watch Hawkeye. Hawkeye is a good show. We will do a review on that soon.
Yeah. Yes. We probably should film a review on that soon.
Hawkeye, by far, right now, that show is a good. It's reminiscent of the Netflix series shows.
More fun, more
approachable. Yes, I can't wait for the last episode. Last episodes.
I don't even know where they're going with it. I'm excited.
I just like we got Kingpin, we got Daredevil. They're back in the MCU, baby.
Yeah, which one makes me wonder if we're going to get the other guys as much. Jessica Jones was a good series. I never watched the last season.
I think the only other person we might get is we might see the Punisher.
I never actually finished. I actually never started the series. I think maybe I got an episode in. And I loved him in Daredevil.
Punisher season 1, excellent. Punisher season 2, not so good. And the only reason why it's not so good is this was towards the end where they were losing the license. So it was like they were rushing it to get it out. It's all about season 1. Season 1 of Punisher, I give 2 thumbs.
Any season of Daredevil for anybody watching.
Definitely. Any season of Daredevil. Luke Cage, season 1, season 2.
So really quick, funny story, and then we'll probably should end this 3 hours.
Sorry, Luis.
Sorry, buddy. I rewatched. I was really maybe it was like in 2018 or something, but I started rewatching season 2 of Daredevil just because I love the series so much. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching the first episode, and I look at one of the actors that are like in the background. I'm like, no. So I rewind it. I pause. I'm like, that's one of my best friends, Dan. So I call up. I'm like, Dan, by any chance, were you like an extra in Daredevil? I'm like, what's that? It's like it's a TV show with this cockside was like Marvel. Oh yeah, I was in that. What did they show my scene? I'm like 2 years ago. You're part of the MCU and you didn't tell me. I flipped out. Imagine watching a show that you watch plenty of times. You watch it a second time, and all of a sudden you see one of your childhood friends in it. I told you was in it. It was funny and it was hilarious, but it was the biggest what the F moments because I was like, it's somebody who looks like him. I pause. I'm like, there's no mistaking this guy.
Well, Matt Murdock will be in She-Hulk.
Will he?
Yes.
Is that confirmed?
Yes, because he's one of the lawyers. She's a lawyer.
Oh, that's right.
This is where we're going to get everything.
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk. I just know a couple comic books. She wasn't real. It was towards the tail end of my comic book era.
Right.
But it was more like the mantle of, okay, we got a woman Hulk. Right. She's also the cousin of Hulk. So it was cool. Yeah. The series looks good. They did show some couple clips, but Kevin Feige a week before the movie goes, We signed Charlie Cox to be Daredevil, but we don't know when he's going to be in the MCU.
Yeah, but he also just said we don't know when they're going to utter the great power, great responsibility.
Yeah. Yes. So it's like
10 minutes later.
Yes. I think he had to do that because it was just the fans were just getting this is the most anticipated movie this year. I am not going to say that it was better than Infinity War.
It's not Infinity War's numbers.
Yes.
Post-COVID, which is
ridiculous. Yeah, that's impressive. But I don't, as a movie, I don't think it's better than Infinity War. It is number 2.
Okay.
Best Spider-Man movie ever. My opinion.
Listen, I'm going to give this a solid 10. If we're ranking.
I'm with you.
100%. This is a 10, guys. Probably, I don't know if it beats out Spider-Man 2 for me. It's at least on equal footing. Just because there's nostalgia. Was this a better film? Yes. Would it have been a great film without its predecessors? No. Well, it would have been a great film, but without Toby and Andrew building up, it was just more of a. It's hard to say. I'm gonna put it at equals with Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 1 held like a great place in my heart too, even as goofy as it was. But I still I saw Spider-Man, the original one, in the theater 5 times. But I saw it 3 times. Just for frame of reference, I also saw Episode 2 5 times, and that's my opinion for Star Wars.
Kathy Kennedy, please invite Kevin Feige to all board meetings on Star Wars. We need the help. We need the help for Star Wars. Please.
Even if you don't invite Kevin Feige, just let your buddy. Oh my gosh! Why?
Jon Favreau and
Favreau or Cowboy Bebop.
They really need to take the reins.
Why can't I forget? Why am I forgetting his name?
His name's. I lost his name too.
What type of nerds are we?
I know. Well, we're on overload with Spider-Man, so that's
that is true. That is true.
Well, you know what? This was an awesome episode, Joe. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Spidey, you the man.
Thank you for all you've done.
We all know what's going to happen when the camera goes out.
Is it going to go red?
Is it going to go kill mode? Oh, kill mode.
That's Luis right now.
Luis like that video is so long. Sorry, Luis, but this was fun. I wish you were here. Everybody, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the thumbs up, share, hit notifications, and this is Chris.
Popcorn before you watch.
Yes, get some popcorn. Watch this in stages. Have an intermission, whatever you need. But thank you guys, Joe. Thank you very much. This was awesome. Peace, guys. We out.
I'm Joe. This was awesome. What Chris said. I am also out. Oh, he said we out.
Chris we out.
Can you do it again?
We out.
We out.
We out.
All right, Luis, we are actually out there. I'm just
we're out.
The button.